Imagine a helpless German shepherd puppy, trembling and alone, encircled by the glowing eyes of hungry bobcats slowly closing in from the shadows. Can a tiny heart hold out hope when danger feels inevitable? If moments of courage, rescue, and unconditional love speak gently to your soul, softly press, subscribe, like, and share. Help this powerful story find its way to others who need to believe in second chances too. The mountains of Blue Ridge rose gently toward the evening sky, their slopes cloaked in soft purple twilight, calm yet eerily quiet. Beneath the darkening canopy of oaks and maples, Sammy, a small German shepherd puppy barely 3 months old, wandered aimlessly through the thickening shadows. His fluffy black and tan coat was tousled, dirtied from a desperate scramble earlier that afternoon when he'd slipped down a steep incline, separated from his mother in a heart-stopping instant. Now alone, Sammy trembled, his amber eyes wide with confusion, constantly searching the darkness for any sign of comfort or familiarity. He stopped every few steps to sniff the air, the damp earth scent mingled with faint remnants of his mother's warm, reassuring smell. But each hopeful sniff faded into nothing, leaving his heart aching and his soft whimpers lost to the wind. Sammy tried calling out once more, his tiny voice echoing helplessly between the tall, silent trees, and again silence replied, mocking his loneliness. As darkness enveloped the mountainside, the temperature dropped, chilling his small body and forcing Sammy to press deeper into the underbrush, hoping to find warmth and protection. He curled beneath the low branches of a juniper bush, pressing his shivering form tightly against the rough bark. But despite his exhaustion, fear kept his eyes alert and wide, scanning the shadows nervously. Above him, the moon drifted gently upward, casting silver threads across the forest floor, illuminating patches of grass and fallen leaves. Sammy gazed upward, wishing with all his heart to glimpse his mother's face appearing through the trees, her reassuring presence dispelling his fears. But no comforting figure emerged from the night, leaving him utterly alone beneath the indifferent stars. Hours passed, and Sammy drifted in and out of uneasy sleep, startled awake by every rustle or crack of branches. Around midnight, the silence broke sharply. A low, menacing growl echoed nearby, pulling him awake, heart hammering violently in his chest. Instinctively, he crouched lower, his small ears flattened back, his young heart aching desperately for protection he knew he could not provide himself. From the shadows emerged several figures, their sleek, spotted bodies silhouetted clearly beneath the moonlight. Sammy's pulse quickened as he recognized the distinct shapes of bobcats, their glowing eyes fixed intently upon him, narrowing predatorily. A larger bobcat stepped forward slowly, muscles rippling beneath its mottled gray and brown coat, tail flicking with deadly intent. Sammy whimpered softly, sensing the hungry anticipation radiating from the silent hunters. The bobcats fanned out quietly, encircling Sammy with practiced ease, confident in their advantage over their small prey. Paralyzed by fear, Sammy's limbs refused to move, his small body quivering violently, his mind flooded with memories of the warmth and safety he once knew. He closed his eyes tightly, preparing himself for the cruel fate awaiting him, silently pleading for rescue, for one more chance to feel his mother's gentle nuzzle against his fur. Just as the leading bobcat tensed to spring, a sudden sound broke through the night, shattering the oppressive silence, a deep, resonant bark, echoing powerfully off the mountain walls. Sammy opened his eyes wide, turning swiftly toward the noise. Emerging from the shadows came a massive, grizzled German shepherd, its coat dense yet matted from the harsh wilderness, flecked with gray around its muzzle. His eyes, sharp and fierce, glowed with protective authority as he strode deliberately forward. The bobcats hesitated, assessing the new challenger, uncertainty flickering briefly across their predator's confidence. With each determined step the old shepherd took, his presence radiated a strength born not only from physical prowess, but from a deep, unyielding spirit, one forged by a lifetime of struggle. Sammy watched, awestruck and overwhelmed by gratitude, as the larger dog placed himself firmly between the helpless puppy and the waiting bobcats. Slowly, confidently, the German shepherd raised his head and released another powerful bark, vibrating with raw command and defiance. The Bobcats retreated hesitantly at first, their predatory certainty now disrupted, and finally melted back into the forest, leaving only tense silence behind. Sammy, overwhelmed by relief and exhaustion, crept cautiously toward his unexpected savior, small head bowed submissively. The older dog turned to face him, lowering his stern gaze to soften slightly, eyes filled with recognition of a similar loneliness. Sammy inched closer, his tiny paw touching the elder dog's rugged front leg timidly. He pressed his small frame against the reassuring warmth, feeling a gentle sigh rise from deep within the older dog's chest. For the first time since losing his mother, Sammy felt something akin to safety, a gentle embrace in a cold wilderness. Beneath the moonlit shadows of Blue Ridge, two lost souls found each other, bound not by blood, but by the deeper bond of shared pain and newfound hope. As dawn slowly lifted the veil of darkness from the Blue Ridge Mountains, soft rays of sunlight filtered gently through the dense canopy, warming the cold earth beneath. Sammy stirred awake, blinking sleepily at the large German shepherd who still sat protectively nearby. The elder dog had remained alert through the night, his strong posture never wavering despite the painful wounds inflicted by the confrontation hours earlier. Sammy noticed streaks of dried blood along the older dog's thick fur and felt an unfamiliar pang of sadness, pressing closer in an instinctive attempt to offer comfort. The older dog, his name was Ben, a former K-9 officer once celebrated and now forgotten, looked down kindly at the small puppy. Ben's fur was coarse and mottled with gray around his muzzle, his muscular frame worn from countless battles both physical and emotional. Deep scars, some recent and others faded from years of hardship, marked his dark black and tan coat. Though age had slowed him, his intelligent eyes still held the unmistakable determination and loyalty of a dog who had spent his best years serving and protecting. Ben felt the puppy's soft warmth nestled against him and briefly closed his eyes, flooded by memories of a past filled with purpose and companionship. He recalled his younger days with Officer Michael Parker, his trusted handler, a quiet man with warm, compassionate eyes, who had treated him like family. They had faced danger together, side by side, bonded through every rescue and mission, until age forced Ben out of the life he had always known. He had been left at a rural shelter when the force deemed him too old, and after months without adoption, loneliness had driven him to escape and wander the wilderness, forgotten by the world he once served. The sudden, helpless cries of Sammy had reawakened something deep within him, a sense of duty and compassion he thought had faded with age. Ben now glanced down at the young puppy's innocent, trusting face and felt his chest tighten, knowing Sammy needed him. Determined to ensure the puppy's survival, Ben gently nudged Sammy with his nose, prompting him to stand. The small dog stumbled a bit at first, legs shaky from exhaustion, but the older dog's quiet encouragement kept him going. Ben knew they needed food and shelter. His sharp senses and well-trained instincts guided them towards safer ground, away from the dangerous territory of predators. As they moved slowly through the woods, Ben periodically stopped to sniff the air, ears perked attentively, protecting Sammy from unseen dangers lurking nearby. The puppy mimicked his every move, learning quickly from his protector, finding reassurance in the calm, confident presence beside him. Late in the morning, they discovered a small stream, clear and bubbling softly through the moss-covered rocks. Ben lowered his head to drink, his aching muscles trembling slightly. Sammy followed his lead, lapping the cool water hungrily, grateful for this simple comfort. Ben watched Sammy closely, realizing how fragile and vulnerable the puppy truly was, and silently promised to shield him from further pain. But as midday sun climbed higher, the injuries from the night's fight began to weigh heavily on Ben, and he slowed significantly. Sammy, sensing his companion's distress, whimpered softly, nudging Ben's side gently, worriedly gazing up into the elder dog's weary eyes. Ben forced himself forward, ignoring the stinging pain that radiated from the deep scratches along his side and legs. The puppy's presence gave him strength, reminding him why he must not stop. Eventually, they found shelter in the hollow of a fallen oak tree, surrounded by ferns and shielded from the harsh sunlight. Ben carefully settled himself inside, allowing Sammy to curl up close against him. Exhausted yet watchful, Ben remained vigilant, ears twitching at every slight rustle of leaves or snap of branches. He softly licked Sammy's forehead, offering gentle reassurance, knowing the puppy must have been scared and grieving for his lost mother. Sammy closed his eyes, comforted by Ben's presence, unaware of the quiet sacrifices made by the older dog. As evening approached again, Ben finally allowed himself to relax a bit, his tired eyes heavy with fatigue. The deep pain from his wounds faded slightly in the warmth of Sammy's small body beside him. In the quiet of the sheltering oak, he realized he was no longer merely surviving. He had found a purpose once again, in caring for this lost puppy who trusted him unconditionally. Despite his age, despite the aches that ran deep into his bones, Ben vowed silently that he would not fail Sammy. They would face the wilderness together, bonded by something stronger than blood or duty, a bond forged by shared survival, compassion, and the powerful instinct of love. Days passed quietly beneath the vast canopy of the Blue Ridge Mountains, marked only by gentle rustlings of leaves, distant bird song, and the steady growth of trust between the two German shepherds. Ben patiently guided young Sammy through their unfamiliar world, showing him the art of survival that only years of experience could teach. Each morning, sunlight filtered softly through the dense branches, casting dancing patterns onto the ground as the dogs emerged together, their bond deepening with every step they took side by side. Sammy grew steadily under Ben's watchful eye, becoming stronger and more curious each day. He mimicked the older dog's careful movements, learning quickly how to sniff out hidden caches of food beneath fallen branches and rocks. Ben demonstrated with gentle patience how to identify the subtle scents carried on the wind, warning signs of predators or comforting whispers of safety. Sammy paid close attention, ears perked and eyes wide with eagerness, absorbing each lesson deeply into his young heart. One afternoon, dark clouds rolled swiftly over the mountains, signaling an approaching storm. Ben lifted his muzzle toward the sky, sniffing carefully and sensing the heavy moisture hanging in the air. He led Sammy quickly along a narrow deer trail, stopping periodically to ensure the puppy was keeping pace, aware that this storm would be fierce and unforgiving. Soon, wind gusted through the trees with increasing intensity, branches creaked ominously overhead, and the first cold drops of rain splattered against their fur. Finding shelter became urgent, but Ben remained calm, his steady demeanor comforting Sammy, whose anxious eyes darted nervously around. After several tense minutes, Ben guided Sammy toward a large rock formation, partially shielded by thick evergreens. Sammy ducked beneath the rocky outcrop, following Ben's reassuring nod. As the storm broke fully, rain thundered down, cascading off leaves, drenching the earth. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating Sammy's frightened expression, his small body trembling from cold and fear. Ben lowered himself close to Sammy, wrapping his larger frame around the puppy to shield him from the harsh elements. His warm presence steadied Sammy, easing the puppy's trembling body until he rested comfortably, trusting completely in Ben's protective embrace. Sammy pressed his nose into Ben's thick, warm fur, comforted by the steady, rhythmic beating of the older dog's heart. Hours passed, and eventually, the storm subsided, leaving behind a refreshed and glistening forest. Sammy cautiously emerged from their shelter, paws sinking slightly into the softened earth. Ben followed closely, gently nudging Sammy forward, encouraging exploration and curiosity. They traveled to a small clearing, filled with wildflowers sparkling with raindrops, sunlight breaking through the lingering clouds in golden streaks. Sammy bounded playfully through the damp grass, his youthful joy brightening Ben's tired eyes, a gentle reminder of happier times he once knew. Over the following weeks, Sammy and Ben moved confidently through the forest, their bond deepening into something more profound than mere companionship. Sammy depended entirely on Ben, not only for guidance but also for emotional strength. And in turn, Ben found renewed purpose in caring for Sammy, the young dog's innocent trust and affection slowly healing wounds deep within his heart. Each night, under the moon's gentle gaze, they rested side by side, Ben softly licking Sammy's face to soothe away lingering fears and uncertainties. Sammy reciprocated with gentle affection, offering comfort to the older dog who had known loneliness far too long. Their days were filled with quiet companionship, simple joys, and mutual trust, a father-son relationship born not from blood but from shared experience and necessity. One evening, beneath a sky painted vividly with hues of pink and orange, Ben paused atop a hill, Sammy beside him. Together they gazed silently across the valley, breathing deeply the crisp mountain air, their silhouettes united against the darkening sky. Ben felt a profound sense of pride and quiet joy, watching Sammy's eager eyes survey the wilderness confidently, knowing he had taught the young dog well. In the silence of that moment, they both felt something unspoken yet deeply understood. They were no longer simply two dogs surviving together. They had become family, connected by trust, care, and the unbreakable bond of love that had formed gently, gradually, but irrevocably, beneath the sprawling skies of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Autumn had gently begun painting the Blue Ridge Mountains in hues of gold and fiery red, the forest floor now blanketed with fallen leaves, crunching softly beneath the paws of the two German shepherds as they moved forward. Ben felt his strength waning slightly more each day, his injuries and old age quietly reminding him of the cost of survival. Sammy, however, had grown visibly stronger, his once small and fragile frame filling out robustly, vibrant energy radiating from his every step. Yet, despite his youth and vitality, Sammy stayed carefully close to Ben, never straying far, always attentive to the older dog's needs. On a cool morning, while soft sunlight filtered through the autumn canopy, the dogs slowly emerged from beneath the protective shelter of a thick cluster of trees. Ben paused, suddenly, raising his muzzle and inhaling sharply, his ears pricking forward attentively. Sammy mimicked him immediately, sensing that something was unusual. Ben's eyes narrowed slightly, alert yet cautious, for carried upon the gentle mountain breeze was the unmistakable scent of a human. In a clearing nearby, Emily Carter stood quietly, her camera lens focused on a delicate white-tailed deer grazing peacefully near a gently flowing stream. Emily was a renowned wildlife photographer, known across America for capturing breathtaking moments that revealed the emotional depth of animals. In her early 30s, Emily was slender and tall, with chestnut-brown hair that flowed loosely beneath her wide-brimmed hat, warm hazel eyes that softened when gazing through the camera lens, and a gentle voice that carried a soothing, reassuring tone. Emily adjusted the camera carefully, absorbed in her work, when she felt a slight disturbance in the air. Turning slowly, she spotted two dogs at the edge of the clearing, their eyes fixed cautiously upon her. Her breath caught at the unexpected sight. The older German shepherd appeared weary and injured, his coat matted and scarred, his gaze wary yet intelligent. Beside him, the younger shepherd stood close, strong but clearly uncertain, his youthful eyes wide and curious. Immediately, Emily's heart softened at the sight of their condition, her instincts as an animal lover and protector overriding any concern for her own safety. She knelt slowly, extending one gentle hand toward them, whispering softly, her voice calm and inviting, attempting to convey trust and safety to the wary animals. Sammy hesitated slightly, glancing toward Ben for guidance, but the older dog remained rigid, his eyes locked carefully onto Emily, his past betrayals by humans stirring fresh anxiety within his chest. Emily recognized immediately the depth of Ben's distrust, sensing intuitively that his scars ran far deeper than the visible injuries on his weary body. Patiently, she set aside her camera and carefully withdrew a small packet of jerky from her bag, placing pieces gently on the ground before backing away respectfully, allowing them space and dignity. Her quiet, respectful movements spoke clearly of genuine kindness, a language animals deeply understood. Sammy moved first, carefully stepping forward, sniffing cautiously at the offering. He glanced again toward Ben, seeking reassurance, and found the older dog watching him carefully, his steady gaze communicating permission. Sammy ate gratefully, feeling comforted by Emily's gentle presence. Ben's hesitation lingered, memories of abandonment and betrayal clouding his mind. His muscles remained tense, prepared to protect Sammy if necessary, yet something about Emily felt different, her patient stillness evoking distant memories of kindness and loyalty, reminiscent of his former handler, Officer Michael Parker. Emily waited patiently, quietly observing the dogs, deeply moved by the clear bond between the two animals. understanding instinctively that their story was extraordinary and painful. She gently spoke aloud, soft reassurances promising safety, shelter, and warmth, her voice carrying sincerity and compassion, breaking down walls of distrust built over years of isolation. Slowly, Ben stepped forward, cautiously approaching Emily, his cautious gaze never leaving her face. He hesitated again, memories of past pain momentarily overpowering his willingness to trust. But seeing Sammy sitting contentedly at her side, his innocent eyes trusting and unafraid, reminded Ben why he had fought so hard to survive. Taking a deep breath, Ben approached Emily gently, allowing her soft fingers to stroke lightly over his head, a gesture so long missed, a warmth nearly forgotten. As her hand moved lovingly across his battered fur, Ben felt the tension within his heart ease slightly, understanding that perhaps, just perhaps, not all humans would abandon him. Emily remained beside them quietly, moved to tears by the trust Ben tentatively offered her, determined to earn every bit of it. She made a silent promise, beneath the peaceful canopy of autumn leaves, to protect and care for these gentle souls who had touched her heart deeply. She understood clearly that their journey toward healing would require patience, tenderness, and time, but she was ready to offer all of herself to help mend their broken pasts. As twilight softly blanketed the mountain clearing, Ben lay quietly beside Sammy, resting peacefully near Emily's reassuring presence, feeling, for the first time in what felt like forever, a gentle hope that perhaps he had finally found a human who understood the true meaning of loyalty, compassion, and the bond of family. Winter had gently cloaked the Blue Ridge Mountains in quiet serenity, delicate snowflakes drifting silently onto branches already laden with ice. Inside a cozy log cabin nestled among tall evergreens, warmth filled every corner, radiating from a crackling stone fireplace. Emily Carter sat on the soft carpet, her gentle eyes filled with joy as she watched Sammy frolic playfully, his once small frame now sturdy and strong, his thick black and tan coat glossy from months of loving care. Near the hearth, Ben lay peacefully, his large, weary head resting comfortably on Emily's lap, eyes half closed, finally at ease in the embrace of trust. Months of patient dedication and unwavering kindness had gently healed the wounds Ben carried deep within. Each day, Emily carefully tended to the old dog's lingering injuries, softly whispering reassurances and stroking his scarred fur, gradually erasing the bitter echoes of abandonment from his heart. Emily's quiet presence had become a steady anchor for Ben, her consistent love proving stronger than memories of past betrayal. Slowly, cautious suspicion had transformed into absolute trust, and Ben felt, for the first time in years, the comforting warmth of belonging. Emily, driven by genuine love and compassion, had decided without hesitation to formally adopt both Ben and Sammy, committing fully to giving them the home and family they desperately deserved. Her small cabin, warm and welcoming, now held reminders of their shared journey, framed photographs capturing tender moments of trust and joy, Ben's worn leather collar hanging gently by the door, and Sammy's favorite toys scattered playfully near the fireplace. Emily often paused by these symbols, profoundly grateful for the unexpected bond they had formed. One particularly crisp winter morning, a local reporter named Sarah Jennings, a friendly young woman with short blonde hair and bright eyes full of curiosity, visited Emily's cabin, eager to share the inspiring story of the two German shepherds. Sarah had heard of their journey from neighbors in the nearby town and sensed immediately the deep emotional power behind their tale. Sitting by the fire, Emily softly recounted each precious moment: Ben's cautious initial approach, Sammy's joyful acceptance of a new life, and the gentle patience that slowly rebuilt trust between human and dog. Sarah listened carefully, moved deeply by the courage and resilience woven through their experiences. She shared the story in the local newspaper, describing vividly how Ben, once a proud K9 abandoned to the wilderness, had rediscovered purpose through his devotion to Sammy. News of their incredible journey spread quickly, capturing hearts far beyond their mountain community, becoming a powerful symbol of loyalty, redemption, and second chances. Letters and heartfelt messages poured into Emily's mailbox from across the country, each one expressing gratitude and admiration. Emily read each carefully, deeply touched by the shared connection their story had created. Strangers wrote about their own rescued animals, about personal struggles overcome through patience and compassion, and many offered thanks for the hope and encouragement Ben and Sammy's journey had inspired. Yet, through all this newfound attention, the quiet rhythms of daily life within the cabin remained unchanged. Ben and Sammy flourished under Emily's constant care, enjoying simple pleasures such as long walks in freshly fallen snow, cozy evenings curled together by the fire, and shared moments of tenderness and laughter. Ben watched Sammy grow, pride evident in his calm, patient eyes, grateful that he had been able to guide the young dog toward safety and happiness. Emily frequently paused to reflect quietly on their journey, understanding deeply that her choice to rescue Ben and Sammy had, in fact, rescued her as well, bringing immeasurable joy and fulfillment to her own heart. She recognized the powerful truth beneath their story. True strength was found not in survival alone, but in the courage to trust and the capacity to love again. As winter gently yielded to spring, the cabin remained a place filled with warmth and love. Ben, with his proud yet gentle presence, continued guarding Sammy's youthful play, his once weary soul now fully healed by unwavering devotion and trust. Sammy thrived joyfully beneath Ben's watchful eye, learning daily the values of loyalty, compassion, and courage. And Emily, forever grateful for the profound lessons they had taught her, watched with quiet pride as their small, unconventional family blossomed. In the evenings, when twilight painted the mountains with gentle shades of purple and gold, Emily would sit quietly on the porch steps, Ben and Sammy resting closely at her side. Together, they watched the stars slowly emerge, their hearts deeply connected through a bond forged in courage, healing, and unconditional love, a bond that had finally brought them all safely home. Sometimes, life's greatest teachers aren't found in books or grand speeches, but in quiet moments of sacrifice, trust, and unconditional love shared between souls who choose compassion over fear. If this story of two brave hearts finding hope touched yours, gently join our community by subscribing. Together, let's continue spreading warmth and kindness, one heartfelt tale at a time.